Hi, I'm Norm Abram. Welcome to the new Yankee workshop. Today we're going to build this child's rocker. Now, to get ideas for ours, we paid a visit to Old Sturbridge Village. That's next, right here on the new Yankee workshop.
The new Yankee workshop features the craftsmanship of Norm Abram.
It's wonderful to be back at Old Sturbridge Village. The reason I think I like this place so much is because it's like taking an immediate step back to 1830. And they've got the details right, the gardens right, the paving, the costumed interpreters, the buildings and everything inside. This is the largest house at Old Sturbridge Village. And here on the first floor there are 4 large rooms. A parlor and dining room in the front, and a kitchen and this sitting room in the rear. The sitting room is the equivalent of today's modern family room. It would be a place where the entire family could meet for informal activities, including the children. Here's an area set up for them. Look at this slant front desk. It's beautiful. Almost a scale version of the one that I built from England. Here's one of the chairs that I wanted you to see. It's a scaled-down Windsor chair. Beautifully proportioned. And look at the paint job. A lot of these chairs were built from different materials. The seat might be pine because it was easy to carve out. The turnings would be birch or maple, and the curved parts might be ash. Now over here in front of the fireplace is a few more I want to show you. Look at this rocker. This must have been one of the favorites. It doesn't rock anymore. The rocker is flat, it was used so much. And look at this one over here. There's a little story behind this one. Before it was a rocker, or converted to a rocker, it was thought that maybe the children would place it in this position, sliding it across the floor, using it as a walker. That's why the front is so worn flat. But here's one of my favorites. The turnings are what they call bamboo turnings, because of these rings, meant to look like bamboo. It has a rolled seat and a beautiful paint job. There's plenty of ideas here. I better get my sketch pad and my camera. Well, after that inspirational visit to Old Sturbridge Village, to see how the chair makers of the past could make dozens of chairs a day in a small workshop using permanent jigs and dedicated workstations, I realized that the challenge here is going to be that with only one worker and only wanting to make one chair, that I want to use a minimal number of jigs. So obviously, it's going to take a little bit longer. So if you'd like to build one of these child's rocking chairs, a measure drawing with the materials list will be available, and you'll hear more about that before the program ends. Now, I'd also like to take a moment to talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember this, there is no more important safety rule than to wear these safety glasses. Now, to get started on our project today, I want to glue up a couple blanks. One is going to be for the chair seat. The other one is a laminated piece that's slightly curved to create this upper part of the backrest. And that's what I'll start on first. I'm going to take a piece of 2x6 cherry and rip it into some thin strips. But if I put this blank on a flat surface, you can see that it's not true. It's got a little bit of a twist to it. And I want to take that out. The best way to do that is at the joiner, simply by making a couple passes. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, to rip it into thin strips, just so happens that I have a bandsaw in the workshop equipped with a very wide blade, which is perfect for resawing. Now, before I glue them up, I have to smooth the faces at my surface planer. For this next operation, I will need a jig, but not one that I built special for this project. It was one that was hanging around the shop. I used it a few years ago to make the curved rails of a half-round console table. It's pieces of plywood fastened to a plywood base. I'm going to take my thin strips of cherry, glue them up, and bend them just the right amount to make the curve of that backrest. Takes a little bit of coordination to get this just right. What I'm trying to get in the end is about 1.25 inches of deflection over the finished length of 19.5 inches. Okay, we'll let this cook for a while and glue up the seat. Now here are the 3 pieces of cherry which are going to form the seat. And I'll join them with biscuits and glue. Now you'll notice on the prototype that there's a piece added to the bottom of the seat to give it some thickness and to make it a little more comfortable. And that's what these 3 pieces are for. Just glued on, no biscuits. Well, while these cure, I'll do some turning. I'll start by turning the legs. The 2 front legs are identical, and the 2 back legs are identical to the front up to this point, then they're just a little bit shorter. What I'm going to start with is a square piece of stock, about 1 5/16 inch square, and I'm going to use my dovetail saw just to cut a slight recess. And that'll allow a slot for these spurs on the drive center to engage. Also, I want to take a scratch awl and make a little center drive point on each end. Now with the blank mounted in the lathe, I'm just going to turn it on at low speed to see if it looks balanced. And that looks good. Now I'll just move the tool rest in so that it clears it safely. And I'll start out by using a gouge to just rough out a cylinder. Okay, now that gives me a nice cylinder to start from. To make it a little bit easier to make each leg, I've got a template that's made from poster board. I'm going to mark each critical location. First will be a dowel shoulder right here, then a V-groove, another V-groove, and another dowel shoulder. First I'll turn the dowels to size. Now using this vernier caliper, I'm going to check the diameter of each dowel and keep turning it down till I get it just right. I want a 3/4 inch one on this end, a 5/8 one on this end. Now that's real close. The next tool I want to use is just a scraper, and I want to get it right down to the exact diameter. I also took a scrap piece of wood, drilled a 3/4 inch hole through it, then cut it in half. And it makes a real handy gauge to check for the final fit. Now I just need to remove just a touch. Okay, that's real good. That's it. Now using a gouge, which has been ground to a thumbnail shape, I'm going to form the leg to conform to my pattern. Now using my skew chisel, I'll make that little V-groove. Now just a little bit of touch-up with some fine sandpaper. Now I'll turn the rungs, which join the legs together. I don't really need a pattern because it's a straight turning. I will measure for the shoulders of the tenons and turn each tenon to an exact 5/8 inch diameter. But the rest of the rung is just straight, so I'll do that by eye. Good. Now here I'm tracing the outline of the rocker on 2 pieces of 1-inch thick stock that I've screwed together. I want to cut both pieces at the same time so that they're nice and uniform. Now before I take the 2 pieces apart, it's a good idea to do the majority of the sanding. Now I'm ready to cut off one of the screws. And now the last screw. A 1/4-inch round over bit softens all the edges. In order to drill the holes for the legs in the rockers, I had to make my first jig specifically for this project, because trying to drill holes in a curved piece like this is almost impossible. The jig consists of 2 pieces of 3/4-inch plywood that are held together on the bottom with a piece of 1/4-inch plywood. And on each end, there's a little cleat that prevents the rocker from moving. Let me show you on the prototype. If I slip the rocker in the jig, you can now see that it can't move. I've put indicator marks for the center line of each hole for the legs, and that's also flush to the top of the rocker. Now what I want to do is drill the holes at the correct angle. This angle right here is 77 degrees. This angle right here is 82 degrees. Over here at the drill press, I've tipped the table so that it's at 8 degrees. And what that does is gives me an 82-degree angle on this side, which is what I want. I have a 5/8-inch Forstner bit, and I've set the depth for about 3/4 of an inch. A guide will keep the jig steady. Okay, now I'm going to adjust my table to 13 degrees so that I can drill that 77-degree angle. Well, now I'm ready to drill the holes in the legs for the side rung. This angle right here is the same as this 77-degree angle, and this angle here is the same as this 82-degree angle. So with the drill press still set up at 13 degrees for the front leg, I've put a higher stop block here, attached the leg in position, measured up 3 1/4 inches from the shoulder for a hole that I'll drill for the rung. Now I'm going to tilt the fence back up to 8 degrees and drill the holes for the rungs in the back leg. Now here's the dry fit, and that's pretty good. Now the next part is a little bit tricky. So when I built this prototype, I didn't glue the seat to the rocker assembly so that I could show you what's happening. Each of the rockers tips in at 10 degrees, and they're not parallel to one another. If I tip it up, you can see that. It's a little bit wider at the front than it is at the back. So when I drill the holes for these cross rungs, I have to drill at a 10-degree angle to give me the tip, and 4 degrees off center to make the back a little bit narrower than the front. So I've set up my drill press with the table tilted at 10 degrees to give me that tip in. Now to make the 4-degree angle, I made a little wedge, but I have to be careful where I place it. If I slide it in too far, the leg is going to rock. If I pull it out too far, the wedge is going to rock. So I want to get just the right location where it's tight to the table and the dowel, slide it down to my mark, and drill a hole 3/4 of an inch deep. Okay, that looks good. What I have here is one of the front legs. Now you might think that I'd be able to drill the hole in the other front leg at this time, but I can't without changing the entire setup. If I drill it as the drill press is set up now, it'll end up like this. What I want is a mirror image of this leg, And to do that, I'm going to have to tilt my drill press table to 10 degrees on the other side of 90. But I can drill the diagonal back leg at this time. Let me show you. If you look at the drill press in this position, you can see that the bit will be 10 degrees to the leg because the table is tipped 10 degrees. If you swing around to the other side, you can see that if I use the wedge with the thick end towards the leg, it'll now give me a 94-degree angle in this direction. But I have created a problem. Now there's no support here. If I slip this shim under here, I'll solve that problem, and now I can drill the hole. Okay, now I can tip the table to 10 degrees on the other side of 90, and we'll drill the other legs in the same manner. Okay, well, we're gaining on it. Tomorrow, we'll finish up the seat and the back. Well, I thought I'd get started this morning by completing the seat. To drill the holes where the rocker meets the underside of the seat, I've tipped the table on the drill press to 10 degrees to give me the 10-degree slant of the rocker. And I've also built a wedge platform which will allow the leg to taper towards the front 8 degrees. I've removed the 8-degree wedge, and I'm going to replace it with this 12-degree wedge while the table is still tilted to the right and drill one of the back holes. Okay, now I have to readjust the depth setting for the hole and clamp the piece in place. Okay, that looks pretty good. Well, now I just got to turn the table to 10 degrees on the other side of 90 and repeat the process for the other two holes. Okay, now I'm ready to start drilling holes on the top side of the seat. Let's take a look at the prototype along this back spindle. You can see it's not square to the seat. In fact, it tips back 8 degrees. And if I spin it around to the front, you can see that it actually angles to the side 5 degrees. So again at the drill press, using my 8-degree wedge and tipping the table to 5 degrees, I'll get that compound hole. Now I've just tipped the table to 5 degrees on the other side of 0 for the opposite hole. Let's look at these two holes. These spindles angle to the front 8 degrees. And if we look at it in this direction, we can see they angle to the side about 6 degrees. So using the same setup at the drill press with an 8-degree platform and just tipping it 1 more degree from where it was and flipping the seat around, I'm able to drill those holes. Now this hole is for the center spindle of the armrest. The table setting is the same, except that I flipped the jig and the seat around. Now there's the other corresponding hole for the armrest. All I've really done is flip the table. 1 more hole to go. Okay, that takes care of the holes for the armrest. Now the remaining holes in the seat are along the back for the back spindles. They're the easiest to do. They're at 90 degrees. Now here I'm using a 3/4 inch radius router bit to ease the front of the seat. I'm easing the remaining edges of the seat using a 1/4 inch round over bit. To make the seat a little more comfortable, it's a nice idea to dish out a little bit of the center. So I'm starting with a 40 grit sandpaper, and I'll work my way down to the final sanding. All right, let's dry fit all of this together. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now let's make the armrest. The armrests are formed just as I did with the rockers. Well, with that done, I'm ready to drill the holes. The spindles meet the armrest at a 15-degree angle. That's what I've set the table for. This is a 5/8 inch hole. I'll have to change the bit to 1/2 inch for the front hole. Now there's a third hole in the armrest, a portion of which is used to make this joint between the armrest and the back spindle. Now I'm using a 7/8 inch diameter bit, and I've tipped the drill press table to 2 degrees. Once again, I use a poster board pattern to lay out the seat back design. The 3 center holes in the backrest are at 90 degrees. I'm just using a square as a guide. This next hole is parallel to the face, so I'm still using the square to hold it straight. But it angles at 3 degrees, so I've tipped the table to 3 degrees. The last hole in the backrest is not parallel to the face. It angles back at 7 degrees, and that's what this block is for. But I've kept the table tilted to 3 degrees. The only mechanical fastener I'll use is a screw into the back of the armrest. I'll drill the hole, but I won't install the screw now because I want to take the entire piece apart, glue it up, then it'll be ready for the finishing room. After building many projects with cherry over the years, we've found that the most attractive finish is just clear Danish oil. Several coats and let it age by itself. I can't think of a better way to treat cherry wood than with several coats of Danish oil.